Welcome, everybody, to this meeting of the South Kingstown Town Council. It is February 23rd. The time is 7:30. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Please rise if you can. Join.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Council President Collins.
Here.
Council Vice President Haley.
Here.
Councilwoman Clow.
Here.
Councilwoman McAtee.
Here.
Councilman Veely.
Here.
All members present.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of minutes from previous meetings, first being the work session of February 9th, 2015. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve item 4A from the work session of February 9th, 2015.
Second?
So moved. Any discussion? No? All in favor of approving the minutes from February 9th, 2015, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Letter B, the minutes for the regular session of February 9th, 2015.
I also approve item 4B for the approval of the regular session held February 9th, 2015.
Second?
Moved. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Letter C, the minutes for the closed executive session of February 9th, 2015.
Is regarding item 4C, again, the closed executive session that is dated February 9th. I recommend the approval of the executive session minutes.
Second?
So moved. Any discussion? No. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. All the minutes are approved. Now we will move on to the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries unanimously as well. Which takes us to number 6 on the agenda, licenses. Letter A is a resolution granting a holiday sales license to Grace Raleigh, Inc., doing business as 1020 Under, at 160 Old Tower Hill Road in Wakefield, subject to approval by the Fire Chief and Communications Superintendent. The application is by Michael Jamal, President, who lives at 100 Marlborough Street, East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Is anyone here to represent? Is Michael here?
Hi there. My name's Lauren. I'm representing Michael today.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Please tell us about your.
It is in the place of the old Wet Seal. So same thing, clothing store, whatnot, same hours, and same holiday hours.
Questions from the council?
How long have you been there, Lauren?
I just started working with him this week.
Oh, how long's he been there?
He probably about 2 or 3 weeks now,
Oh, good.
just kind of moving in. So
And what are your hours of operation?
Monday through Friday, they are 10 to 9, Sunday 11 to 5, and holidays will be 11 to 6.
And what kind of clothing? Women's clothing, sports clothing?
Women's, men, children. It's kind of like a big box store almost, so along the lines of like a Marshalls or TJ Maxx,
Oh.
but smaller, a lot smaller.
And is this the only, is this a franchise?
It is, I think they have a couple in Massachusetts right now, so this is kind of a test store.
Oh, very nice.
All right, any further questions? Great. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I move approval of license 6A.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion?
I wish you luck. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That license is approved unanimously. Letter B, under licenses, a resolution granting a victualling license to P&A Quick Ricks 58 High Street, Wakefield, subject to approval by the fire chief and communications superintendent. The application by Peter Betancourt, 337 Beechwood Drive, East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Is Peter here?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well, and yourself, sir?
So please tell us about Quick Ricks.
I'm sure you guys have already known about the original Quick Ricks when Mr. Rick Lima actually owned it. If he wasn't down in South Carolina, he actually wanted to be here tonight with us. I'm trying to actually bring it back to the original Quick Ricks. I started over there September 5th. I was leasing it from Richard McCulloch with a one-year lease. In early December, I decided to just go ahead and buy it. The restaurant building, still leasing land from Larry Fish, but December 23rd was the actual final date of sale, so I picked it up then. Been there about 6 months though.
Were you open for one of the storms? I think I saw that you were open like all night long, and you stayed there.
I was there from, actually my fiance and I were there from Sunday morning at 6 till Tuesday night at 9. We actually slept inside the building.
I bet you had a lot of customers, plows coming in.
We did. We actually, I don't know if I should have been, but I was actually doing a lot of deliveries out to the plows and a lot of the guys and stuff like that. The
Yeah.
South Kingston Police Department came down, a lot of rescue guys and stuff like that. That's one of the things that, if you guys remember, Rick Lima himself was known for, was just the service of the people of Wakefield. So, like I said, trying to bring that back in almost all aspects. So
Very
we
exciting.
were open for the last storm also, and we plan on being there for whenever necessary.
Excellent.
I think anybody who's from town was familiar with Quick Ricks, believe me, for a long time. And I'm glad to see your determination in terms of not only helping out the community, but in this, weather situation that we've had, plowing situation, giving back to the crews too, serving the people who serve us. That's an admirable trait, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
So tell us what you have, what kind of menu you have in there. Any different? Oh, you've got it. See, you got to do some self-promoting.
Selling
Can I bring
business.
some up?
Yeah.
Sure.
We're neighbors. I have a business right up behind you, so. Yeah. I do. So I'll certainly be ordering.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Are you doing the hot wieners again?
Hot wiener. And Friday nights, every Friday till 8 o'clock. Actually, the hours are Monday through Thursday, 6 to 3. We are open Saturday and Sunday, which was one thing that hasn't happened there yet. 7 to 3. And Fridays we're open from 6 in the morning till 8 at night. So we do fish and chips and stuff like that. And if you actually like us on Facebook, every other Friday or every third Friday, we actually do authentic Chinese food. I know it's a little different, but
Wow.
it's not the sweet and sour chicken or sweet and sour pork
Oh,
that
that
you get
sounds
from the local
great.
Chinese food place. So.
Do you have any seating inside? There used to be a few tables in there.
There was 2 tables when I first started. You couldn't really sit in there when I first bought the place because of the windows. It was really cold in there. I heard stories of snow actually coming through the windows and landing on a table next to you. If you've seen the building recently, I've changed out the whole front of the building. Put all new windows in.
I saw that.
And I also lifted them up a little bit, so along that front wall is now a counter with 6 seats at the counter, and I put 2 granite tables against the other wall. So in the springtime, I am planning on putting into motion, possibly putting just some small addition in the back, just for like 4 tables or 6 tables or something, and a little deck out the front.
Yeah, you have the tables out front, right?
Yeah, just a
I
couple.
think it was picnic tables or something at one time.
Correct. We're out there for the Veterans Day Parade, actually. It started and ended right over there, so we're out there during that.
Very good.
Thank you, Peter. Any?
No.
Great, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion for the approval of 6B, granting a license to P&Q Quick Ricks, 58 High Street.
P&As. P&As, quick.
P&As, I'm sorry. Quick
Ps and
Ricks,
Qs.
58 High Street in Wakefield, subject to the approval of Fire Chief and Communications Superintendent, and the application is submitted by Peter Betancourt of Beechwood Drive, East Greenwich, Rhode Island.
Second?
So moved. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Good luck, Peter.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, Peter.
Enjoy the night.
Item C, under licenses, a resolution granting victualling and holiday sales licenses to the Alternative Food Cooperative, doing business as the South County Food Co-op, 344 Main Street, Unit 101, Wakefield. Subject to approval by the Fire Chief and Communications Superintendent. Application by Allison Alfrey, 136 Congdon Avenue, North Kingstown. Is Allison here? Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Liz Gledhill. I'm the baker at the South County Food Co-op. Allison couldn't be here tonight, so I'm here for her. I think you guys know about the co-op. We've been in business for over 40 years, since 1970, and started over at URI. Actually started on someone's front porch in Kingston, then moved to URI, and then to our location on where TLC Coffee Roasters used to be, and then to our location on Main Street. We just moved January 1st, we opened. We have a coffee bar, a bakery. We do scratch soups, lunches, breads, a lot of gluten-free, vegan items. We have produce. We work with local farmers, keep everything non-GMO, local, and just try to work within the community to support people and their food needs.
Questions?
And the best chocolate chip cookies in town.
And I'm glad to see the move. I think it looks great over there. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job.
Oh, thank you so much. We're really excited about the new space.
And it is a cooperative in the true sense. You can become a member owner. Is that right?
Yes, yep. We're an employee and member-owned company. So every time you sign up to be a member, you own part of the co-op. So you get a say in how it's run and what we carry. People can volunteer hours there to get a discount on their food. We're run on volunteers. We wouldn't be able to stay open without them. So it's a great community business.
And the new dining area is great in there, because
Oh, yeah.
sitting in the window, must serve a lot of coffee, even more coffee and,
Yeah, the new space definitely
Pastries.
allows us to increase the seating and for people to come in, encourages them to sit down. Our old location across the street didn't really have a lot of seating.
Right.
It was difficult to come in and kind of jockey for a chair, so now there's plenty of room for everyone.
yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
I move approval of new license 6C.
I second.
So moved. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. That brings us to item number 7 on the agenda, which is a public hearing. And I open the public hearing for the purpose of obtaining citizen views relative to filing application under the Community Development Block Grant Hurricane Sandy Disaster Recovery Program for the East Mattoonic Water Main Relocation Project. And before we get started, Dale, I wanted to ask you to introduce a letter into the record.
Yes, we have a communication dated February 4th, 2015. Dear council members, at the meeting of the South Kingston Planning Board held on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2015, the board voted as follows. Motion, the Planning Board of the Town of South Kingstown reviewed the proposed activity for the Mattoonic Water Main relocation under the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Hurricane Sandy Disaster Recovery Program. The Planning Board certifies that, to the best of its knowledge, the activities proposed are not in conflict with the general policies set forth in the comprehensive plan of the Town of South Kingstown. Respectfully, Maria Mack, Chair, Planning Board.
Now, Steve or Vin, did one of you want to describe the project?
In terms of background, what we're doing here tonight is conducting a public hearing to provide information and to solicit public comment on an application that the town plans to file under a special program that's being administered through the Community Development Block Grant Program, and this is Hurricane Sandy Disaster Relief Funding. The purpose of this specific program is to find program elements where the criteria is for a proposed project must meet a local need having particular urgency where existing conditions pose a serious or immediate threat to health and welfare of the community. Unlike normal CDBG applications, which deal specifically with targeting activities for low and moderate income individuals or employment purposes, this looks to specific activities to deal with the outcome of Hurricane Sandy in 2012. The Hurricane Sandy created a very severe problem for the town with the breaching of the water line on the East Matunic State Beach property. With that water line breach, we lost all water service for the 1,850 or so residents to the west of where that breach occurred. What we're looking at is how do we deal with this problem in the future, since the beachfront has seen additional erosion, and the probability of additional breaches in the future are stronger each and every storm that occurs. The solution is to reroute the water line. The reroute of the water line would start at Matunic Beach Road at the intersection of Route 1 and would provide for about 4,600 feet of 12-inch ductile pipe to be installed to the intersection of Succotash Road. It would then run down Succotash Road and meet the Victoria Lane water tank. And there we would be able to loop the water to get to the western end of the South Shore, but prevent access requirements going over the Potter Pond Bridge or on the East Matunic Beach. When we started this project, the Town Council authorized the development of construction plans. The town hired a Pear Group, which has prepared the preliminary cost estimates for the project. Preliminary cost estimates are about $2.2 to $2.3 million for the entire project. The town has been successful in obtaining a first grant. That first grant is for $1,399,000. And that was secured last year in 2014 under an Emergency Management Agency pre-disaster mitigation grant that we were successful at. What we're looking for is the remaining dollars, approximately the $945,000 through this disaster relief and recovery program offered through CDBG. One of the conditions is that we have compliance with the comprehensive community plan, which Dale has read into the record that the planning board has made that finding. The second is to solicit public comments. We submitted a letter requesting funding consideration back in 2013. We heard earlier this year that the state would accept the application. So at that point, we asked the council to conduct the necessary public hearing, which is being held tonight. So with that, in terms of background information, I'd be glad to answer any questions council may have or the public may have on the pending application. If the council is supportive of the filing of the application, I'd ask that the resolution as presented in the memorandum of February 17th be considered by the council for adoption this evening.
Sure. Any questions from the council? Steve, if we weren't to apply for the CDBG grant, we would have to pay for this project on our own, because we really need this to happen in order for people's water to be secured.
Without the federal money, we would need to come up with local dollars. Trying to fund a $2.2 million project out of the rate base associated with the customers in the South Shore system would have a profound impact on what our annual user fees would be. In fact, it would put at risk that water system. We could continue to try to mend the water line on the barrier beach would be the only solution that we would have. That's not a viable solution. So we would have to look at some type of funding methodologies. Things that would have to be done is we'd have to look at going out with a 40-year bond rather than a 20 or a 30-year bond. And we would have to look at whether or not municipal dollars outside of the water fund would be provided. So this is the most important program for South Shore, and the potential for 100% funding would certainly be advantageous to the community.
Steve, what will happen to the old pipe that's down on the Barrier Beach? Will that just be capped off, or you pull that up, or what do you do
There'll
with
have to be
it?
a determination made with coastal as to whether or not we leave it on the beach or whether it has to actually be removed. That determination has not been made at this point. Certainly, I think what we would like to see is it to remain in place.
But you just shut it off or something, right, from the two ends?
Right, there's valve connections on that beach line at this point, so we can shut that section off. Our concern is that the removal is going to do more environmental damage to the dune line than it would to leave it in place. Yet we'll have to have engineering plans prepared for coastal to review before we can make a final determination on that.
What is the time frame for the completion of the project? How long do you anticipate that it's going to take?
The plans have been completed for the design. We're ready to go out to bid on that. Last outstanding item is getting State Department of Transportation road opening permit requirements resolved. We've been working with them now for about the last 9 months. Once that's in place and we know what the closeout requirements are for the installation of the line in the gutter strip, we would expect that the installation would be probably this fall. We would not do it during the summer months, obviously, because we wouldn't want that type of construction activity on Route 1. If we can't get the window during the fall, it would be next spring. But our objective would be to get it in this year. That's why we're looking at an expedited review process with this grant. If the second grant's approved, we can get this out to bid and have the contract ready to go after September 15th.
So would it require a lane closure on Route 1?
It will not require, the installation will be in the breakdown lane. So certainly there's going to be some lane restrictions that are going to occur during parts of that construction period. That's one of the things that we're working with the state on, because there has to be a full traffic control plan in place, and there's also limits as to what periods, what months of the year we would be able to actually be in construction.
And what about on Saugatucket? What would that require any kind of
On
lane?
Succotash?
Succotash, sorry.
Succotash is also a state road, so that's all under the right-of-way permit that we would need to get.
Yes, Succotash, sorry, I said Saugatucket. Gee.
I think it's a short-term solution for, a short-term inconvenience for a long-term solution.
I think it's
I look at it.
it's of major importance to that South Shore water system.
Steve, I agree that this project needs to be done. We need to replace that line. And would it be nice to get federal funds to do it? Obviously, from a taxpayer standpoint, absolutely. I do have some concerns over accepting community development block grants and the conditions and costs that are unknown at this point that might come with it. We talked this during this work session. And
Yeah, as I said in the pre-session, both the planning director and I have looked back at all of the CDBG applications that we have submitted in the past, as well as the terms and conditions. We're not finding that there's any stipulations or conditions that don't directly relate to federal statute. Most of it going back to the Housing Act, I think it was of 1968. And most of those terms and conditions are federal law. The issue that was brought up with the roadmap was whether or not the federal government, through HUD, would come in and take specific actions against the community. And there's been isolated examples where there has been federal intervention. But I think that there were many mitigating circumstances where the federal intervention occurred. We have not seen that other than on a very limited basis, and it was where there were extraordinary efforts made to prevent full incorporation of free housing in a community. So I don't expect that that could have any effect in South Kingstown based on my reading of the terms and conditions. I know Michael has also done reviews on behalf of other clients that he has, municipal clients on the same issue, and I certainly would yield to any comments he could make for you.
Sure. Since Roadmap Rhode Island came out, this has obviously been an issue much discussed in many communities throughout the state. Even if Roadmap Rhode Island stays on the shelf, as the speaker said it would, we're still looking into it. I actually have pending a request from the legal office of the Department of Administration, a specific interpretation with regard to what effect that may have on those communities, whether they're entitlement or non-entitlement communities, what effect that would have on our acceptance of a grant. And hopefully I'll have that in the next couple of weeks. But I agree with Steve. I don't see any adverse impact on the town of South Kingstown.
Thank you.
Mike, you may just want to talk about the entitlement versus non-entitlement communities, because there is a difference.
There in South Kingston, I hope I'm right in this, is a non-entitlement community. It's
That's
not an entitlement community. The entitlement communities tend to be the big cities like Providence, Pawtucket, West Warwick, Woonsocket, that type of thing. And there are different conditions that apply depending.
Mike, what does that mean, entitlement community? What do you mean by that?
Well, it means that given the population that's in those communities, they're going to get these funds first. They're going to be first in line. They get the lion's share of the funds. I think I'm pretty sure.
Initially, what happened was there was a Model Cities program. With the Model Cities program, there was entitlement communities that were guaranteed certain dollars on a yearly basis, because what they were attempting to do is to say, we're going to give a long-term federal commitment to housing in those areas that have high unemployment, low wages, and a lack of housing opportunity. So most of your urban area were guaranteed that type of funding. Non-entitlement communities were communities that went, just as we do now, through a pool. There's a pool of dollars that the state makes available from the federal government, and we compete with all of the other cities and towns. We're not going to be guaranteed that we would get the money that we applied for. But in years past, there was those entitlement communities, they were guaranteed the money, so they weren't in competition. But it also came with different concerns as far as what the action plans were for those cities, since they were guaranteeing the money. Here, most of our money with the CDBGs are normally going to human service agency assistance or into our housing rehab programs. But again, when I look at what the requirements are, I don't see where we would not be required to meet those federal statutes, whether they were a term and condition. When we sign any grant application from the state or the feds, there's usually 6 to 7 pages of federal requirements that are there in terms of talking about Davis-Bacon, talking about the fact that we have to have affirmative action within our hiring programs and personnel systems, and it goes on and on. But all of those things are required under federal statute in the first place. Why there's a need for those to be in there on each and every application, I'm unsure, but over the years, that compliance section seems to have gotten longer and longer. But most of them are referring to statutes that are already in place, some of them going back 40 years.
Any other comments from the council? All right, at this time, are there any comments from the public?
Jim O'Neill, Matunic. Certainly, when I was on the council, we agreed that this is a change that we certainly need to have happen before the next storm. And the last response time, I think Steve said that pipe was corrected in about 6 to 8 hours, which was absolutely phenomenal, given the ferocity of the storm that time. A couple of questions. If this is capped off, where you're going to cap it, will anyone else in South Kingstown be feeding off that water line, or will it stop in the Jerusalem area?
No, the line itself would go down to the East Matunic State Beach. It would be valved at that location. The Barrier Beach line is the only thing that would be lost. We would be able to fuel everything all the way up to Ocean Avenue with the relayed line. So no, there's no loss in terms of service area. There's no other group that's going to be served by it.
Okay, but basically 100% of the people, homes will be coming off this and down from Route 1 to Victoria Lane will be the new feeding
Yeah, I mean,
pipe.
100% of the people that would be west of the Barrier Beach today, certainly you've got a direct feed onto Succotash Road today, and you would continue to have that, that feed. The only potential problem that we would have is if we were ever to lose the Potter Pond Bridge again. But when that was reconstructed, it was certainly constructed at a higher elevation, and we're not anticipating that as a potential at this point. So the only thing we would lose is service from that point forward to the state beach.
What's the number of customers you figure that we will be taking off that line? 1,500, 16, 1,800?
1,850 homes that would be to the west of the where the breach point occurred.
Okay, and following up with Carol McEntee's question, how deep are those pipes in the beach?
When they were installed in the beach, they were probably down 10 to 12 feet. They're probably within 3 feet of the dune line at this point.
Concrete or ductile or what other?
I believe it was a plastic pipe, John? Transite.
In diameter for that pipe?
12 inch.
12. And will this change anything in Narragansett? Jerusalem has talked about bringing sewers in. Will any of that?
This has no relationship to Narragansett at this point.
Okay, but still, it's our water that comes across that way. So I thought it also fed Jerusalem.
No, Jerusalem is fed by a subaqueous line that comes in from Galilee.
Okay. And of those 1,850 customers, any way to tell how many are year-round and how many are seasonal?
I could only tend to guess on that, Jim, but I would assume at this point probably 70% a year-round.
Okay. And, you know, a lot of times we've been down the Matunic and talking to folks down there. They'd love to get dunes and back, especially with the Potter Pond area, Green Hill Beach area, but specifically Potter Pond. If you look at the aerials, the amount of sand that's pouring into that pond is incredible. And there's certainly been a lot of talk about getting those dunes back. So is that possible with DEM and maybe to get these pipes up at the same time?
No, I don't see that as a viable option. This is a project that deals just with the water line. We would deal with the feds, with CRMC as far as what we would have to deal with the line, but certainly we're not going to be looking at any type of project that's going to be looking at dredging in that pond area.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public at this time? Any comments from the council?
Yeah, I just want to make it clear, Steve, so when that pipe broke during Sandy, 1,800 people had no water for approximately 6 hours because
Yeah, it's more important than
the
just...
town did such a great job fixing it, but,
The real problem that could have occurred is if we had a fire emergency, because we would have lost... Understand, the South Shore Water System operates with 2 water tanks. Each of those holds 400,000 gallons. So if we had a fire emergency, we would be using only the 400,000 gallons that was in the air. And based on where the emergency occurred and its elevation would have had an impact on what we could service with that. So it's not just the water to the homes, it's also the fire protection for that entire area that is jeopardized if in fact there's a loss of water pressure.
Right. Any comments from the council now? Dale, could you incorporate the comments that we heard from the public into the record? And if there's just something I was told to ask for.
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
So moved. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
All right, that hearing is now closed. I would entertain resolution.
Let me do it. I move that we authorize the filing of an application under the Community Development Grant Block Hurricane Sandy Disaster Recovery Program for an amount of $944,822 to implement the proposed activity for the East Matunic Water Main Relocation Project. Additionally, Steve Alfred is hereby authorized and directed to file this application with the Office of Housing and Community Development to provide any additional information or documents required by said office, to make any assurances required in connection with this program, to execute an agreement with the State of Rhode Island, and to otherwise act as a representative of the Town of South Kingstown in all matters relating to this application and any award which may be based upon this application.
Second.
So moved. Any further discussion? No.
Well, based on the uncertainty, I will be voting no on this, but, respect everyone's decision.
Thank you, Joe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
And vote by 4 to 1. The resolution is passed. That brings us to comments from interested citizens. This is that portion of the evening where it's the public's chance to come and tell us what we should be thinking about. So please come to the podium, speak your name into the microphone, and let us know what you think.
I'm Helen Farrell Allen, and I'm speaking for myself as opposed to my business. Honorable Councilors, General Washington's birthday is recognized by few citizens. The Sons of the Revolution Brigade, headquartered in Newport, celebrated February 22nd as they have for 150 years. Prayers were said, a wreath was laid, arms were fired, at Newport's Redwood Library and Athenaeum at noon on February 22nd. Where else was that day marked? Wakefield's Veterans of Foreign Wars cordially allowed me to plan a celebration in their hall on the birthday, but unfortunately plans had not started soon enough and we needed more time for publicity. However, I'm certain that we can make up for this poor planning next year. Senator Reid, it is understood, at Mount Vernon, opposed the bill of retired Virginia Senator Wolf that citizens return to our customary honoring of the first president. I do not have a copy of the senator's legislation with me tonight. I, therefore, can only lay upon the table my wish that South Kingston's council will study and confirm this matter. I hope they will then regret the present faltering attention given February 22nd across the nation and suggest amelioration in a formal manner. Respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matt Finlayson with the Ocean State Waves. I wanted to take the time to thank the town for everything that you've done as part of our community, and that's what we are, a community organization. Since our inception into the NECBL, the town's been unbelievable. We love being a part of this community, and we look forward to being a source of civic pride for the town. I just want to inform the town council of our objectives, what we're trying to do as an organization, and I actually brought our organizational objectives that I'd like to hand out.
See you Friday night.
And the thing I'd like to talk about is, the product on the field is amazing. We're the second best collegiate summer league in the country behind the Cape. half of our roster will get a chance to play professionally, and currently our league has 111 alumni on major league teams. So it's pretty cool to have a future major leaguer in our backyard. But as important as the baseball is, it truly is more about community. Our mission statement is affordable family fun meets quality baseball. What we've done in the community are things like our reading program. We appeared at Matunic Elementary, Peacedale, and other South Kingstown schools. We engage our student athletes in the community in different ways, like blood drives, Special Olympics, and we're looking to do more. One thing we do is encourage a healthy lifestyle, so we offer scholarships to our camp for those that can't afford it. We foster internships with Bryant, Providence College, URI, and Salve. I'm a Salve alum, so. And, the field is amazing. Like, the guys on the team are going to be good every year. We have never had a losing season, and we've made the playoffs in the first 2 years, which, with the other 3 franchises that came in with us, we were the only to do so. We love Old Mountain Field. The facility is good. The playing field's good. The location's great. We've brought in a new scoreboard, press box, new fencing, field tarp, and top-dressed the infield. So we've done a lot, and it's been positive relationships with the Legion program, the South Kingstown Little League, and obviously the high school with Coach Sorrow also being our coach. Obviously, there is room for spectator improvement, and I can see this growing on and off the field. What this has done for communities like Keene or Montpelier, Vermont, and obviously closest to us, Newport, is amazing. Newport's given back $400,000 in the last 12 years to the community in different ways. Last year it was Heather Abbott, but they also do senior scholarships for the 3 public high schools on Aquidneck Island. So I just wanted to thank you. We love the town. My office is in downtown Wakefield. And we do have a great event this Friday at the Towers, which is our black tie event, and we'd love to have you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Jonathan Daly LaBelle. I'm also a member of the South Kingstown School Committee. I have a couple things to bring forward, which more can either be spoken to tonight or not. And then that's more just as an interested citizen. And then I just want to bring forward a little information about the school committee meeting tomorrow night. So I just would like to understand the reason for the delay, and I'm sure I missed some of the conversation, but the reason for the delay with the High Street. I mean, this is the worst time of year for High Street. Everybody knows that. I live off of High Street, so it's just something I contend with all the time, and there's just so many people dealing with the drainage and the, poor road conditions. And I guess I'm just wondering, because I think what I had heard, that it was definite for 2014, and then it got delayed, and now I think they're talking about 2016. And I'm just wondering if we could also get an update, or if I can get an update on whether or not gas can be brought in at that time. I know it was brought up to Town Hall, good savings to the taxpayers, but if somehow that line could be brought further, then there really would be savings for taxpayers. I brought this forward in years past, whether or not we could get Sunday hours restored to Peacedale Library, and I think that's been given maybe very limited consideration in years past, and I'm just wondering if that can be looked at again through the town's budget process. I don't know if you guys have already talked about that or not, but I just look at there's a lot of use, a lot of the computer use on Saturdays, and I would only imagine that there's a lot of community members that would use that on Sunday too. So just to be clear, I don't speak for the school committee, which I think anybody that follows anything would understand that, but there is a meeting tomorrow night at the high school cafeteria at 7 o'clock. It's a community conversation, which is really supposed to be pretty engaging, and generally actually can be fairly decent. Some interaction, more back and forth allowed than what is allowed in our typical business meetings. So really it is about park, and there's a couple other steps to the assessment system as the schools are trying to evaluate the children that we're trying to teach. And it's the testing amount is something I really question, so I'm really looking forward to the conversation in general and also hearing from community members. I just think about, I know there is value to assessment, knowing how a child is doing with their learning. But the time spent is a concern for me. How much resources is put towards that, and does that take away from other parts of their ability to learn? And I do think it's an important conversation at this point in time, because where our current assessment that we have largely emanates from the education plan at the state level, which came in 2010, and now that's being looked at this year. And people know that that came in at a time where we had a new commissioner, Gist, and now that commissioner is gone. So things may change, they may not change, but the more people that are informed and are involved, hopefully it'll end up being better change for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Jim O'Neill, Matunic. On a lighter note, March Madness is right around the corner, and hopefully we're all rooting for Rhode Island. URI especially, go Rhodey, and of course Providence College, we hope also does well in the tournament, but we have to support our team. The other March Madness I wanted to bring up tonight is truly a difficult time in South Kingstown, and that's when the governor presents the budget, and hundreds of bills have just been put in by House reps and senators up at the State House. And this is where we have to batten down the hatches, because South Kingstown is, since I can remember being on this council, it's never been a pleasant time. A couple things I want to mention. A couple of weeks ago, 2 House reps, one from Warwick, one from Providence, introduced a statewide boat mooring fee. On top of our fees, I think we're $8 a foot to $12 a foot out of state, in state. But $150 to $500 would be tacked on to those boats, depending on weight and length. It would more than double what our local mooring fees are, that we, our harbor master, we take care of things, take care of everything in our jurisdiction. Doubling the fee. Tourism, if we haven't learned it from Governor Chafee's budget 4 years ago, tourism is a win-win situation for this state, especially South Kingstown and Narragansett. And I don't know why these reps and senators continue to mess with the only successful continuing economic growth area that the state of Rhode Island has. Governor Chafee 4 years ago, his introduction to the budget, and I'll just start on the west, we were going to put a toll booth on the Connecticut-Rhode Island border. We had 0 for a rental cottage tax for short-term rentals. He wanted to go from nothing to 13%. He wanted to increase all of your beverage and food taxes from 8% to 10%. He wanted to double the tolls on the Pell Bridge. And I called him out, and others called him out on it in the tourism industry, hospitality industry, because why are you trying to kill the one thing that's working so well for the state, and especially southern Rhode Island, especially South Kingstown? And here we go again with these 2 reps. Right off the bat. No one in Narragansett, nobody, I don't know about South Kingstown. I've been reading the newspaper articles in the paper. Just came out of the blue. Even DEM doesn't know about this. This is what happens up there at the General Assembly. I just, there's something in the water up there, but this is crazy. We need these people. We don't need these people to start trailering their boats. Can you imagine? There won't be any parking space left, the few places we have. If they don't have the moorings, if this double cost would make them trailer their boats. Just simply crazy. But again, it's always these folks up there. We never seem to be on the receiving end of a conversation. Hey, South Kingstown, will this work for you? Or Narragansett? We only find out afterwards. And it's never changed in all the years I've been involved with government. On a lighter note, the spaceship that landed on Route 1, Narragansett's fighting it like mad, but most of the people from South Kingstown are the ones that are faced looking at that thing. That's the sand and salt spaceship, whatever you want to call it. And when those lights are on, along with Flood Ford, and I still get calls from over in Woodruff and the rest of it, you could see this from Pluto. It's just incredible how bright this is. All they had to do was contact someone in South Kingstown, Narragansett. Hey, we're going to build this thing. What can we do to make it less obtrusive? Maybe get some artists from the high school out there, paint branches on it so it looks like treetops or some combination. But just again, it's another situation with the state. We never hear from anyone. It's just all of a sudden it's up. So things like this have really got to stop. Smith Hill is just out of control. And for years, I know Steve Alfred, myself, Mr. Collins at the last meeting, I follow a lot of activity in other cities and towns. 23 of us have home rule self-governance rights. And every year, it's just an assault by the General Assembly on everything that we do. And what really hurts, from my perspective, is this is a community that has been in the lead and done everything right that I've been involved for the last 20 years. We're always ahead of the curve. So I guess that's why we're a target for many of these special interest groups and General Assembly members. Even last summer, Liz Dolan, who was the president of the North Kingstown Town Council for years, along with their town council, wrote in the Providence Journal and other magazines, and I quote, "Can elected officials protect taxpayers? We have a right to manage our town and the services we deliver. And every time the General Assembly sits down, we are under attack." For instance, even affordable housing.
Jim?
Yeah.
Can you wrap it up soon?
Okay, well, I can come back a second time, or I'll be happy to put it in the paper. But, all right, I'll try to make this as short as possible. Quickly here, education funding formula, land use, on-site wastewater, the Percentage Completion Act, all these things that come down from the General Assembly all harm our taxpayers and take from our property taxpayers, left and right. The state, as you've seen, you've read in the newspapers lately, the dire straits for the budgets. So I'm just asking you just to do what you can to defend our taxpayers, defend this community, because right now, anyone who would want to bring a business to this state or this community is going to say, who's running this town? General Assembly? Builders Association Group? Why aren't the citizens who elect the town council? Because if this continues, we're not going to need a planning department, we won't need zoning, and we may not need a town council. Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public? Comments from the council? I will say, maybe it'll come as some solace, but I was at a meeting recently up at the Rhode Island Department of Transportation with Director Lewis while he was still there, and we were talking about the salt shed, and they are going to be putting in some plantings around the side of it. I don't know if they're certainly not going to grow tall enough, quickly enough to totally mitigate the eyesore, but it's not going to be exactly like it is forever. So hopefully that makes people feel a little better. All right. We'll now move on to our town manager's report.
The item that I wanted to bring forward tonight is the budget schedule. We will be releasing the manager's budget to you this Thursday. And our budget schedule starts next week for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Each of those sessions will start at 6:30 here. You also have meetings scheduled for March 11th with the school committee on the budget. So those are the 4 immediate meetings that you've got scheduled at this point for budget deliberation, and certainly the public is invited to any of those presentations.
Could you speak to that point that was raised about the High Street project, which has been delayed and delayed?
I have had a request in over the last 2 weeks for an update. I have not received a response. There's a good deal of changes that are going on at the DOT level at this point. Once I get that information in, I will certainly be presenting it to the council for public release. But I can't speak to that issue this evening.
All right. With that, we'll go to the town solicitor's report. Thank you. Number 12 on our agenda tonight is appointments. We have some to make.
Let me do it. We have a couple of appointments to the planning board, and this is a resolution appointing Elise Torello to the planning board for a term. Oh, I don't know when it expires, though. I don't know when the term will expire. I don't know that's...
Yeah, when would this term expire?
May of 17.
In 2017. So a resolution appointing Elise Torello to the planning board for a term that will expire in 2017. That's appointments under number 12, item A.
Second.
So moved. Any discussion? All right. That's all in favor of appointing Elise Torello to the planning board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay? All right, it's unanimous. Elise Torello has joined our planning board. Congratulations to Elise.
The second appointment is also under 12A, appointing Joseph Thaddeus Murphy, also to the planning board, for a term that expires in May 2017.
I'll second that.
So moved. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd just like to say we had approximately 8 applicants for the planning board. We've never had that many people apply for any board since I've been here. And every single one of them was a great candidate, great resumes, very dedicated, lots of experience. And I think for all of us, this was a very difficult decision. And I would just like to say to all of you who applied and anyone else out there, stay involved, apply again. There'll be more openings. People do it for a few terms and then their lives get too busy. So I appreciate all the interest. I know we all do. And again, it was a very tough decision.
I want to reiterate that we met with each of these candidates, and they were all very professional people who really have an interest in the town. And I would certainly foster on the back of what Carol just said, that if they're interested in another position where there's a vacancy right now, to take that. But if they're concerned about continuing on, I would highly recommend. They are all very qualified people. This was very difficult for all of us. Very difficult.
Further comments? All right. All in favor of Joseph Murphy being appointed to the planning board, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. It's unanimous. Joseph Murphy will join Elise Torello joining the planning board. We had some reappointments to make. Is that correct?
That's right. I move that we reappoint Robert Schofield to the Housing Authority. His term expired in October of 2014. He would serve for 5 years. That brings him to October 2019.
Second?
So moved. All in or any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. He's reappointed.
I also would move that we reappoint Stephanie Osborne to the Zoning Board of Review. Her term expires next month, March 2015. She would serve for a 3-year term, which would bring her to March 2018.
I second that, just with the knowledge that her term does not expire till next month, but I would also second that.
Any comments? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I would also move for the reappointments to the Economic Development Committee of Larry Fish, Patricia Gardner, and Jude Nusman. And their terms expire next month, March 2015, and they would serve 3-year terms till March 2018.
I second that. I do have a question whether or not Jude Nusman will be continuing on that committee.
He says he wishes to be reappointed,
Okay.
so.
So moved. Any discussion? All in favor of reappointing those 3 to the Economic Development Committee? Say aye.
Aye. I'd also like to add that Jerome Byers, who has served on the Economic Development Committee, he does not wish to be reappointed, and I would like to thank him for his service and ask the clerk if she would send a letter to him thanking him for his years of service on the Economic Development Committee. And that was a motion.
Second.
All right. So moved. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. That brings us to the end of our agenda this evening.
You just want to, I think I'd like to point out that there are now 2 vacancies, I think, on EDC, and I've served on that committee. It's a great one, so I would encourage people to.
I think we do have a couple of people who have applied, but please, we would entertain other applicants as well. It is 8:31 at this point. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting of tonight's session.
Second.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye. Bah humbug.
I just want to leave.